welcome to Your Gift Will Make Room for You with Cheryl T. Ricks. And today, starting off the new year, we probably at the second month by now, and we have a dear, dear, dear sweetheart of a friend, Fran Allen, with us today. Fran is amazing. She is full of love, joy, wisdom. She loves the Lord. She's a blessing everywhere she go. She has just been a blessing to me. And I'm just happy to call her my sister friend. And, we just let the Lord use us and enjoy each other and our gifts, talents, and ability that God has given us to share with one another. So welcome, friend. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you, Cheryl. It's such a humbling experience. I'm so grateful for you. And
God.
we have become fast friends, didn't we? Didn't
Yes,
we?
we did. Yes, we did. Yes, we did. So I just want you to introduce yourself and tell the viewers who you are and what are you doing.
Okay, well, I'm Fran Allen. I am the owner of Self Development Success, which is my self help business. I write books. I use the sale of the books to give donations to nonprofits and community based programs. Um, I am a mother. When I was working, I was the former district director for Congressman Elijah Cummings, but that um, was another life. And now I am in my new home, in my new location in North Carolina, living life and serving God and just doing whatever I can to be of service to somebody else.
You know, God is amazing. She said that like it was just a little bit of something, something, but she does a whole lot more just showing up being Fran Allen, let me tell you. And one of the things she does is that she's a amazing writer. She mentioned her books, and we're going to go into what those books are. But she also is a contributing editor for the National Black Unity newspaper, and she writes amazing things to help you think, to help you see the world, help you see life in such an amazing way. So, with that being said, tell us some of the articles that you've written with the Black Unity newspaper.
Oh, goodness. Well, I've been writing for the National Black Unity News since probably late 2017, right after I retired from the federal government. I met up with the founder and publisher, David Murphy. And I've known Dave for a very, very long time. We probably have a 40-year history at this point. And he was telling me about this new publication that he was starting. And of course, I was in. Dave he is such a amazing individual in his own right. And if he was starting a new paper, I wanted to be in it. So I started writing and became the national editor for self development in the paper. And my articles are all about motivating, encouraging, inspiring, and sometimes even educating people about things that might get in their way, that stop them from achieving the things that they're deserving to achieve, or going the places that they deserve to go, or even experiencing just joy and peace when they learn to stop blocking themselves. My most recent article, which will be published in the January 2024 issue, is all about stop blocking yourself, how to get out of your own way, how to accept help when someone offers it to you. Because when you say no, when someone offers their help, you're not only blocking the resources that you've been asking God to send to you, but you're keeping them from doing that thing that God has called them to do as well. So you're not just blocking yourself in that sense. But the articles are, it's all about positivity. No negativity allowed. You won't find any hatefulness, no mean-spiritedness, no, we don't talk about how many people died. We don't talk about how many shootings in the neighborhood. Everything in that paper is about uplifting Black people, uplifting us as a group. and using our resources to be of service to each other while we help ourselves.
That is such a true thing. And me being a contributing editor to that same paper, we are a group of African American people. A lot of us are believers in Christ Jesus. And if you ever wanted to see a unified force, if you ever wanted to see people of color working together for the good of all and to glorify the God we all serve, that's
Yes.
the paper you want to pick up, because all of us had unique gifts, talents, and abilities, and we all have a unique journey of life that we've lived and we are living. And so those articles help bring our life journeys to the world so that people can relate to the fact that they're not alone. Someone else is going through what they're going through, or they've been through what they're currently going through, and we know the way through it. And so just that was how Fran and I met, through the National Black Unity newspaper. And from the moment I saw her, I knew I had to reach out to her. And like she said, we became fast friends. And she's just such a joy in her heart. You talking about, you ever wanted to see somebody with a heart to love and a heart to share and a heart to give? Now, and she does. She does all of that. But she also sits you down to tell you the truth about some things. Which is a good thing. You do not want to surround yourself with yes people. You want people to give you an honest assessment and
True.
tell it to you like you need this, but she's going to do it in love, and she's going to share something to help you on your journey in life. And so I just love her. I love her. I love her. And one of the other things that she does with her writing is the books that she's written. So tell us about some of the books that you've written and what made you write them.
Well, I've written 4 books, and I started writing in the very beginning when I was also participating in this thing called Motivational Mondays. And it was 4 other gentlemen that were doing Motivational Mondays with me. I was the only girl. And they all had cassette tapes or books or pamphlets or something that they would give away after they would speak. And I would come into the room, I would blow it up, and then I'd leave because I had to go get my kids. See, they didn't have to go pick up the kids. I had to go get my kids from the babysitter because I couldn't afford to pay more money. And so I didn't have a book, I didn't have a tape, I didn't have any of that stuff. And they used to really ride me about it, Fran, so, why don't you have a book? Well, I don't have a book because I haven't written a book. Okay, so when are you going to write the book? I'm not thinking about writing a book. And I'm trying to get out the door to go get my kids. And every Monday they would do this to me. I'm be trying to fly to go get my kids. And they're holding me up with all these crazy questions. So finally, one day I really got annoyed with it. And I was like, if y'all don't leave me alone about this book, if God wanted me to have a book, God would give me a book. Get out the way, I got to go. And, you got to be careful what you say because it will come to fruition. So that very night, I get the kids, they're home, they're in bed, everybody sleep. It's about 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. And I wake up out of a sound sleep and I have all this stuff in my head and I can't think. I'm thinking, why am I so anxious? Why am I so full? Why, my mind is so busy. So I got up, I started up my computer and I started typing. And I ended up with this list of about 120 words, and they all began with the letter A. And I kept thinking, what is the significance of a list of words that all begin with the letter A at 3 o'clock in the morning? God, what are we doing? But I just kept going. I kept playing with it, playing with it, playing with it. And then it came to me, everybody in life is trying to get an A. You're trying to get an A in something. You're trying to get an A in school. You're trying to get an A on the test. You're trying to get an A in the exam. You're trying to, so how come this can't be how to get an A in life? And I thought, wow. And so then I thought, okay, well, then the words have to mean something. So I started to define the words, every A word, with an experience out of my life. Because God sent me on all these journeys and all these experiences and these different twists and turns. And I had to believe that they weren't just to be giving me something busy to do, they were for a reason. And I took all of those experiences and I poured them into defining those A words because I truly believe that Merriam-Webster is not the only one that can define a word. I know words, I can speak, I know what they mean to me. And I book that I named How to Get an A in Life. And that was my first book. That was back in 1996, I guess. And wow. Then I thought, okay, God, so what am I supposed to do with this book now? And it all, everything works together for the good of those that love the Lord and called according to his purpose. It is so true. And if you just sit down and think about it, you will find so many examples of that playing out in your life without even realizing it. So about this time, I'm a little, I'm financially strapped. I need a car. My hoopty died. I needed another car. I had no way, I had no means, I had no resources to get another car, but I was very frustrated with waiting for people to pick me up. Sometimes they remember, sometimes they wouldn't. Sometimes they'd be really late. Other times they'd be really early and then I'd really be scrambling. And I thought, Lord, I just need a way. I just need a way to get a car. And do you remember back in the day when the V103 in Baltimore used to have this For Sisters Only conference?
Uh-huh.
I went to a For Sisters Only conference and I bought a table. I had to borrow the money to buy the table, to get the table. And all I had was me, this table, some tissue paper that I used to cover the table. I couldn't even afford the tablecloth.
Oh,
I just
wow.
had some tissue paper. I covered the table with the tissue paper, and I put my books up there. And then I dressed my children up like it was Easter. And I told them, we're going to play a game. We're going to sell mommy's books today. And I used my cute little kids to sell these books. I have 400 books, and in 2 days, I sold 400 books with my babies. My babies sold those books. I told them, every time you sell a book, I'm going to give you some money. You're going to get paid? And I said, yep, you're going to get paid. Every time you sell a book, you're going to get paid. Oh, they made, you need to buy this book because my mommy wrote this book and my mommy is going to pay me if you buy this book. So you got to buy this book so I can get my money. My kid was like, look at them. All those books. And I took the money from the books and bought a little secondhand car. That was God giving me the resource,
Yes.
showing me that if you ask me for something, I'm going to give it to you. It may not look like what you think it's going to look like. It may not come when you think it's supposed to come. You may not even receive the resource in the way you think you're going to receive the resource. But if you trust in me, you're going to get what you ask because I'm going to give it to you. And he truly did. It all came through. Every single thing that I asked for, he gave me. He gave
Amen.
me. He gave me. I had to do a little work, because people that sit around waiting for things to drop out of the sky, they usually just be wasting their time watching for something that's not coming. You got to do a little work. But if you're patient, you do some work and you're patient and you just wait on him, he will give you what you're asking for. So that was How to Get an A in Life. And then several years later, it took me about 5 years to write the next book, which is Been Through Going Through the Journey. And that was like 13 short stories out of the pages of my life. Now, I had all these experiences, and so I wrote all these speeches because I just knew people were going to hire me to speak, at conferences and women's events and different things like that. And then I had all these speeches and nowhere to go to speak them because no one was calling me. And I was like, okay, God, so why do I have all these speeches and I don't have anywhere to deliver them? And then I thought, oh, well, maybe I'm supposed to write a book. And so I took all of those speeches and condensed them down into 13 chapters, 13 short stories.
Wow.
And it was a very cathartic thing because that book I started with the death of my parents and
Wow.
how selfish and entitled I thought I was because I just knew that they left me. How dare they leave me? How dare they leave me? I still needed them. I still had questions. I still had stuff to learn. They still had stuff to teach me. How dare they leave me? Boy, how arrogant was I? Because God called them. Their work was done. They're like, up, boop, done. I'm done. Oh, see ya. And they were out of here. And they were up in heaven with God. And I was down here in the misery. But it was misery that I created for myself because I was so entitled and I was so arrogant. And the truth was, they did their work and they were done and they could go home. And now it's time for me to do my work. So when I'm done, when he calls me, I can go home. So that and many other stories. There's the stories in there about love lives. There's stories in there about abusive relationships. There's stories in there about when I adopted my son. There's a story in there when I had my miracle baby, my daughter. It's just the pages of my life, and they are all experiences that each and every one of us go through at some point or another. And it was a way for me to show commonality, that none of us is really on this sidewalk alone. We have all traveled it at some point or another. And if you really reach out to somebody else and just ask them, you will discover that, oh, yeah, I've been through that. And if you ask them what happened and how it ended, it might give you a whole different perspective about where you are and how you're going to get to the end of your journey as well. But you're not alone. You're
Yeah.
not there by yourself. You've
Amen.
always had someone who could tell you, how to go. Don't turn left there, man. You'll run right off the cliff. Go right here. And if you listen, you make the journey a little easier for yourself as opposed to all the struggle that you create for yourself when you just won't reach out for help. So that was been through going through the journey. And then simultaneously, as I was writing that book, I was also preparing a manuscript for Words to Live By,
Say that again.
because
What
it
was that
occurred to
again?
me, Words to Live By. The book is called Words to Live By. That's the third book. And I got those words from collecting bits of wisdom and little pieces of advice that people had given me along the way, different things that they would say. Um, my mother used to tell me all the time, um, stop paying attention to what everybody else is doing and mind your own business. You know, my grandmother used to tell me, what other people think of you is none of your business. What you think of yourself is what's most important. Those things. Um, and there are over 400 sayings. They're all motivational, encouraging, and inspiring sayings. And some of them are a little foot to butt, but sometimes we need that. The fourth book is called From Creativity to Creating Income. Turn what you know into dough, because we all know how to do something that somebody else will pay for. I don't care if it's cooking, cleaning, braiding hair, mowing grass, shoveling snow. I don't care if it's cleaning out garages, organizing closets. I don't care if it's baking pies and cakes and cookies, or if it's preparing holiday meals for people. One year a friend of mine decided that they were just going to fry turkeys for Thanksgiving. And that's what he did. He went and had an opportunity to buy some birds wholesale. So he got a freezer and he filled it up with all these birds. And then when Thanksgiving came near, he started thawing birds and frying turkeys, and he made a fortune. And it was just a simple idea that, I know how to do this and it's Thanksgiving and I know some people aren't going to want to cook. So maybe they'll want to do this. And he lucked up and made out. And we can all do that. We all have a $1 billion idea, a $1 billion with a B. We all have one of those stuck in our head. But the challenge is we never go inside of our own heads to look for what we need. We're always asking somebody else. We always want someone else to come up with the answer. But here's what I would say to that: we are the somebody else for everybody else.
Yeah.
So go inside your own head and look for that idea that you think that they're supposed to have for you, that they think you are supposed to have for them. Go get that idea because it's in there. It's in there, and you really don't have to um, expect other people to resolve your issues or strengthen your foundation. You have the ability to do all of that stuff if you just give yourself the credit that God has given you. God's given you the gift. God has given you a talent. God has given you an ability. And you freely give it away to everybody else, but you never use it for yourself.
Amen. That's
Exactly. So, from creativity to creating income, turn what you know into dough was the fourth book. I did have, I've started another manuscript, and I'm not so sure if I'm going to keep going in the direction that I thought I was going to go. You know how it is, Cheryl. You start with an idea and you start going, and then you get into it, and you're like, wait a minute, this isn't about that. This is really about this. And then you change direction, you change course, and you go in a different direction. Um, and so I'm changing course. So I'm not so sure if I'm even going to keep the title to that one. So I'm not going to share it. But what I will share is this: God has given us so many opportunities, and we just have to be flexible enough to be able to turn the corner. Turn the corner. Just turn the corner. You're walking down the sidewalk, you're going, you're going, you're going. But at some point, you got to turn the corner because that's where um, the real reason, the real purpose, the real idea, the real thing that God is giving you, it's not straight ahead of you all the time. Sometimes it's over to the left or sometimes it's over to the right. Sometimes we walk right past it and we don't even recognize it until we're a little further down the road and we think, you know what? I'm not supposed to be here. I'm supposed to be back there. And you got to turn around and back up and regroup. That's what that is all about. Back up and regroup. So, yeah, those are the books. And aside from that, and coming up with an article quarterly for the paper, um, those are my gifts that God gives to me to share with everybody else.
We'll be back after this message.
Hi, I'm Fran Allen. Like you, I'm a leader, motivator, teacher, and confidant. I'm also a personal and professional development expert who guides people desiring to unleash innovative approaches to their personal growth. I'm genuine and no nonsense in delivery with a bit of humor to meet people where they are. For more than 20 years, I've used my experience to motivate and encourage people, and I'll do the same for you. I've trained and coached in the military, corporate, government, and academic sectors. I earned a bachelor's degree in business management from Johns Hopkins University, served honorably in the United States Marine Corps, enjoyed a career of public service in the federal government, and became the owner and CEO of Self-Development Success for the past 15 years, speaking, presenting, and authoring 4 self-help books. Just one call brings the cavalry, and it's a sure bet if you do nothing, nothing is what you get. So let me help you get out of your own way. 443-602-6194.
Welcome back.
that is all of that you shared is amazing. And every bit of what you shared can help any person on the journey of life. And it's needed and necessary. Just like you were saying, God present opportunities to us all the time. Sometimes we don't have our antennas up that we recognize that this is an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And just like how, you spoke at the newspaper's meeting that week, and then I reached out to you. If I never reached out to you, if I just say, oh, that was a nice lady. Oh, I really like what she said. We wouldn't be sitting here today. We would
Mm-hmm.
not have this amazing friendship that we had. I would not have been able to grow in ways that you add to me if I had not recognized that this was a God connection. This was one of those divine connections. This is one of those people that's supposed to be on a journey of life with me at this point in life. And for many of us, we look and it's kind of like when you lose something, like, where can it be? Where can it be? Where can it be? And I heard somebody say it like this: the reason we don't find things when we're looking for it because we're not using our eyes, we're using our mind. Where can it be? Where can it be? And then when we
Right.
finally find what we're looking for, it's right in plain sight. And we say, if it hadn't been a snake, it'd have bit me.
Right.
We have to keep our eyes open for the opportunity that God present to us. And we never know who's going to pick up that book. Like that book right there, all of them are awesome. But that one you said about, using your gift, talents, and ability to make dough. I mean, that one right there should be on the best-selling list. Everybody and their mama, their grandmama, their sister, their brother, their niece, their nephew, their friends, their children. Everybody needs that book. Start promoting it because we're in a season where people are looking for better. They're looking for new. They're tired of being where they are. Every day, 3-4 times a day, post that book. Post it. Because that's a book for right now. That's the book that everybody's looking like, how do I take what I have and make it what I need it to be? How do I use these gift, talents, and ability that God has given me to bless more people? That's what we do. We're not making money. We're blessing more people. Let me
That's
go
it.
help somebody along the way. I heard someone say this. You don't need to know everything. Just know a little bit more than somebody else and go share it with them.
Right.
Go share with them. And we
Right.
all learning something that someone else haven't figured out, and someone else has learned something that we haven't figured out. That's why we write the books. That's why we have communication. That's why we talk. That's why we share with each other. That's why we impart something to each other that we need along the way. And it's so important that that you really recognize this gift of writing that God has given you. And not just the gift of writing, but being able to express it. You are a motivational speaker, you're a poet, you are one of those people that can make sense out of the chaos and confusion that's going on in the world so people can understand what's happening with them. That's what your writing gives voice to. Your voice, the voice that you give sharing what you've learned with others help us to have a voice, help us to get inside of ourselves and say, you know what, now that she said that, it makes me think about this. Why do I have to do it that way? Why do I have to be what everybody else wants? Why can't I just be who I am? I can be. Give myself permission. Give
Mhm.
myself permission to be the one and only me. That's
Mhm.
what it's all about. It's not being a carbon copy of someone else, but being the one and only you. I heard someone say it like this: you can't beat me being me because I'm the only one. But God is so good. And in your writing with the paper, you even had encouraged this little man at your church to write an article for the paper. Tell us about him, the author that you found at your church is just a little boy.
Oh, he brings me joy. Okay. So I kind of gravitated to this little person at church because his name is Colin and my daughter's name is Colin. And so, I kind of had my eye on him. And he was just a regular, normal, average, everyday 8-year-old little boy, running around with the kids, and just all full of energy and everything. And I asked him one day, would you like to write articles for a newspaper? And he said, will I be famous? And I said, well, I suppose if you write long enough and well enough, you could be. And ran over to his dad and said, Dad, I'm going to be famous. He was 8. So I gave him an assignment. It was February. Yeah, it was February and Black History Month. And so I asked him to write an article choosing someone in Black history that reminded him of his parents, his mom. And he said, oh, okay. And, like it was going to be so easy. And I thought, he's going to struggle with this, right? And for the next submission for the issue, he had written an article about Mamie Till and Emmett Till and how his mom was like Miss Mamie Till because she loved her son and she did everything that she could to try to protect her son and teach him the right way. And she was God fearing and she believed in God just like his mother did. And Emmett's father loved him just like his dad loved him. And and he drew all these parallels and these comparisons between Miss Till and his mom and his father and Emmett's dad. And it brought me to tears because this is coming out of an 8-year-old child. And it was really amazing. And so we printed it in the paper and I started to get comments. At the end of every article, I say, if you'd like to encourage Colin, please, send an email to, I send my email address. And I got all these comments. Are you sure this child is just 8 years old? I'm like, yeah, he's 8 years old. Well, he's 10 going on 11 now, I guess. So he's been writing that long. But every quarter, I send him an email. This is an idea. If you don't like this one, come up with one of your own. And I always send him an idea or something to write about. And sometimes he chooses it and sometimes not. And he sends me back his article and he types them himself. He and his dad, they talk about it. They write it out longhand, try to get it, the way that the expression that is most closely related to how Colin really feels about the issue. And then he types it up himself in an email and sends it to me. And I edit, I go through and proofread and edit. And then I send it to our chief editor, our chief proofreader, our chief, I guess she's an editor, Dr. Watis at the paper. And she goes through everything with a fine tooth comb. She really does. She is an amazing wordsmith. She truly is an artist with words. And she fixes his stuff and she cleans up my stuff sometimes too. But I started in the beginning, I thought Colin would want to do this for a little while. And now, like I said, he started when he's 8. He's about to turn 11, I suppose. And he every quarter he's right there with his article. Sometimes they're a little light because he's got lots of homework and tests to take and end of grade exams and stuff, but then he pops right back the next quarter with something that you're like, this can't be a 10-year-old kid, but it's a 10-year-old kid writing this stuff. He talked about the racism in Florida and how taking Black history out of the schools is going to hurt everyone because no one will know the truth. And it doesn't matter whether you like it or it feels good, the truth is still the truth. Wow. 10-year-old kid. Wow. I'm like, man, this little guy. So I'm grateful because through mentoring him, God has shown me a whole bunch of different things that I would never have even focused on had I not been mentoring Colin. So he's an extraordinary little guy. You got to pick up a copy of the National Black Unity News, and his articles are generally on page 24, and there's always something amazing in there.
And you know what? There's a lot of people, older people especially, talk about how children aren't this, children aren't that, they needed this, they needed that. But isn't it amazing when we as older people can go and connect with young people and help them to have a voice, help them to see things that we maybe couldn't see ourselves at that age. And
Right.
that's how we do what we do. We be a blessing by, helping others. And that was such a great thing that you did, not just for him, but for other children that will know that that's something that they are able to do as well. And I think you said you had reached out to some other kids that thought maybe they would like to, but haven't gotten on board with it yet.
Yeah. I mean, I just throw it out there, and every once in a while, I'll see somebody that I think might be more interested. But my job is to plant the seed. It's not my job to force anybody to do anything that they're not interested in or not willing to do or any of that. I just offer the opportunity, plant the seed, and either they're going to grab it or they're not. Some have expressed more interest than others, but they're still talking more than they're walking. So eventually their walk will get caught up with their talk. In the meantime, I'm just going to keep offering it to other people and keep writing, keep asking God for what He would want for me to write about and put in this paper that's going to really bless somebody else and keep it moving because that's what I'm supposed to do.
Okay. Now, because we are familiar with each other and we're friends, I also know that you were in the military,
Yes.
as well as, working for the congressman. And
Mm.
it's all about, well, how was those gifts that you learned in the military and the things you did on your job working with the congressman? How did those gifts play out in those roles?
Wow. I think I learned how to follow in the military. I learned how to follow. You can't be a leader if you can't follow. I really believe that. So I was in the Marine Corps for 8 years, and that was a tough place to be. So during the time that I was in the Marine Corps, it was like 2% of the whole Marine fighting force was minority. And then maybe 2% of that 2% were women. And then maybe 2% of the 2% of the 2% were Black women. So it was really a rare thing to go on a base and see a sister in a uniform because there were so few of us all over the place. And it made it very difficult because the Marine Corps back then, and we're talking probably 40 years ago, it was really a very, very, very strongly male dominated place. Didn't have the influence of women. Those men were not interested in hearing anything that a woman had to say. 40 years ago. 40 years later, yeah, we're kind of running some things, but it wasn't always that way. It wasn't always that way. I learned a lot about myself. My time in the Marine Corps taught me about me. I used that as a self-examination phase of my life. What do I know? What don't I know? Well, I quickly learned that I didn't know nearly as much as I thought I knew, and I had so much more to learn than I ever thought was possible. But that was a good thing. That was a good thing. So it made me open and receptive to other points of view and different opinions and different ideas that other people would offer or extend or what have you. And that made me a person who um, spent more time trying to learn how to do what to do and when to do, as opposed to just being caught up with myself. Like a lot of young girls in their teens coming out of high school and they're more interested in boys and style and the party. And at that time, man, I was learning how to handle a 45 pistol, a M16 rifle, and a shotgun. And I qualified with everything. So I'm not the one to stand in front of and say, well, you can't hit me, because I can hit you. Hit you. Um, there were lots of things in the Marine Corps too that it exposed me to stuff that I would never have been exposed to. I went to multiple countries and learned languages that I would never. I learned how to speak Japanese. I was pretty fluent in Japanese when I left Japan. I was there for about 13, 14 months. And when I went there, I couldn't speak anything and I had culture shock. And when I left, I was speaking fluently and I was sorry to go. Um, that was a life experience that I would never had if I'd not taken that path. And I've traveled to 31 of the 50 states, and I'm still trying to get to a few states. Now that I'm really retired and I can get in my car and go where I want to go, I can knock off the other 31 states because they're all contiguous. I've been to Hawaii and Alaska already. I don't have to go there. So I can just get in my car and knock out the rest. Well, except for Puerto Rico. I haven't been there yet. But yeah, that's possible. As it relates to the congressman's office, boy, that was probably the hardest job I've ever had, and one that gave me the most purpose. It gave me the most purpose because my job as the director of his district, I had 750,000 people that I was responsible for making sure we could provide constituent services for, with 11 staff people. That was crazy. That was crazy. And there was something new and different about every single day, because when you have 750,000 people, you got 750,000 different problems. And any one of them can show up on your doorstep at any time. And his whole philosophy, Congressman Elijah Cummings' philosophy for running his office was very, very, very simple. You do as much as you can, for as many as you can, as often as you can, and repeat. That's it. That's it. So if you didn't know the answer to the question, you did some research until you found the answer. And when you found the answer, you solved the problem. And then you move on to the next one. And if you don't know anything about it, you research it until you do, and then you solve the problem and you move on to the next one. And that's what I did as his director for 13 years.
Wow.
Every day. And it was scary sometimes because some of those things were frightening. When the housing market crashed and all those people were losing their homes and people were getting put out and homelessness was going up. And I was like, okay, I'm really supposed to go to work and do something about this. But I did. We hired a staff person that had formerly retired, and we brought her back. And we gave her the foreclosure issue area. And all she did all day long for a very long period of time, we thought we were going to hire her for like 90 days to see if it would get off the ground. And then 9 years later, she was still there. I mean, she was amazing. She saved thousands and thousands of people from losing their homes. And it all happened on an idea. What if we could do this? And then we just started trying to put the pieces together to see if we could pull it off. And years later, we were still pulling it off, and people were still staying in their homes because of an idea. It was just amazing. But that's how God works. That's God. I wish I could say I was smart enough to have come up with all of that. But if I wasn't paying attention to what God was telling me, I would have missed it.
Amen.
I really would have missed it. Yeah. So it's not easy when you manage people, because when people come to work, they bring their problems, and you have to let people know, when you're here, other people's problems are your problems. You have to check your stuff at the door. You got to leave your stuff in your car. You can't bring it in here because you can't be focused on solving your problems while you're solving your caseload, and the caseload, 200, 300, 400 cases a month. They were rolling. We had a lot of work to do. We had a few people to do it, and we were like one big, huge, happy family, and we worked it out. It wasn't easy, but the Cummings era congressional staff, I would say, without hesitation or reservation, were the hardest working staff in the Congress of the United States. And there are those that would say, yeah, get out of here. We were, but when you're in Baltimore and you're working with little or no resource, and the line just keeps getting longer, wrapping around the building, and you can't see any end in sight. Yeah, our staff, they came to work, and that they did. So I'm grateful to have them, because they made my job pretty easy sometimes. And other times, we just lock arms and get in step and knock it out together. There was nobody had a job to do that they couldn't help somebody else. So that's how we knocked it out. But that was tough stuff. That was a hard place to be sometimes.
We'll be back after this message.
Cheryl T. Ricks is the author of the published book, Sister Circle: The Power of Sisterhood, a guide to becoming the woman God designed you to be. Cheryl is the president, founder, and CEO of the Women Empowerment Circle, LLC. Her book is changing lives. It is a book for women that describes how important unity among women is to every woman's wholeness. It shows that a sister circle will help women understand the womanhood process and how to avoid the pitfalls that women often experience. It teaches women how to value themselves and each other.
Welcome back.
Wow. And uh, um, Congressman Cummings is known for a lot of things. But just like every great person, there's a lot of amazing people behind the scenes that's making them look like that. I mean, we would have never guessed that all of that was going on behind the scenes. How it takes a whole team of people to do anything. And sometimes people don't recognize that if it wasn't first by the grace of God, go I. If it wasn't for God, none of this would possible. And if it wasn't for the people that he bring to walk side of and work with us, a lot of things that he's called us to do, we wouldn't be able to do. I mean, it says, many make the work light, and there's so many ways that we add value to each other. And it's not even just the gift, talents, and ability to be, it's for who we are and how we're made, how we wired, and how we love and how we care, and how we're destined to make a difference any and everywhere we are. And I just commend you and your team for doing what y'all did to help him do what God called him to do. And I tell you, truly amazing the places that we can go in life. And we never know how God's going to use us. We never know how God is going to work through us, for us, and with us until we're actually there and say, okay, Lord, I'm here. You got to help me with this. And
Yes.
everything that you're saying, everything you've mentioned thus far, God was in the midst of all of it. Tell us how
Yeah.
God helped you use your gift, talents, and ability to know that it's Him and that you can draw from Him and He could help you use these gift, talents, and abilities to give Him glory and make a difference.
Okay. So that's kind of that's the answer to that is all over the place. So I knew it was God when I wake up in the morning and I had the flu and I was really, really, really sick. And I got up out of my sick bed, put on my clothes, suited up, booted up, went to work, did my job, and then came home and got back into bed. Because if it weren't for God, I wouldn't have made it there and I wouldn't have made it back. Um, it was God telling me, there isn't anything that you can't do if you ask me to help you. So if you can't do it, it's because you didn't ask me. So I'd learned how to wake up in the morning when my eyes open up. I'm like, okay, God, where are we going today? What are we going to do today? What is it that you have for me to do? How are we going to resolve this issue? I just included God in everything. It was never just me. It was never me. I wish I was that smart. I am smart enough to know that whatever I need in the moment that I need it, if I ask God for it, I'm going to get it. That's my smart. And, when you really believe that, it really happens. I really don't know how to explain that except to say, try it. You be surprised. Try it. You really would be surprised. So, um, the other thing too that is very important about all of that is that Cummings, his parents were preachers, and his mother, Miss Ruth, was one of my greatest supporters, man. I could call her and just, okay, I'm at the end. I'm about to jump off the bridge. I need to come by for prayer. And she would say, come on, honey. And I would leave the office. I got an errand to run. I'll be back. And would go to his mother's house and she would pray over me. She would put her hand on my shoulder, or she put her hand on my head, or she would just hold my hands and she would pray, and she would call this Holy Spirit into battle for me. And it worked because not only did I know who she was calling, but I believed that they would hear her and they would come. And there were so many times when I would call her up and I would say, "Ooh, I'm, your son." And she would start laughing and she'd say, "Close your eyes." And she'd pray over me. And when she was done, I would feel refreshed, renewed, reinvigorated. And I would say, "Oh, I'm time enough for him now." And then I'd go back to work, but she was a staunch believer, as his father was. And so he came up like that. So he was too. And there are so many times, I have to tell you this one story about one time I was staffing him in our conference room at Park Avenue. And these Caucasian businessmen who owned several of the very high dollar businesses in Baltimore had come to him to ask him what they could do to be able to serve the Black community. And see, for him, all of that was code for how can we make more money off the backs of Blacks? And so he was listening to them and he had his head down and his mouth was moving, and I'm like, what is he doing? He was praying. And when they got done, he looked up and he said, "Is that it?" And they said, "Pretty much, yeah." And he said, "Okay." He said, "Well, you're probably not going to like this." And I'm sitting right next to him and I'm looking him in the face and I'm like, okay, here we go. And he said to them, "Let me get this right. You don't have any Black executives in your company. You don't have any Black managers, middle or line. You don't hire Blacks with any regularity. You don't make any donations to any Black nonprofits. But you came to the Black congressman's office to ask the Black man how the white man can make more money off the backs of the Black people. Is that where we are, gentlemen?" And my mouth was on the floor. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. And he said, "You make money off Black people when you give them jobs, hire them, give them middle management and executive positions in your company. Listen to what they tell you, and they can tell you how you can make more money off of the people that you won't give the time of day. Anything else?" And the meeting was over. And I'm ushering people out the door. "Okay, well, gentlemen, it was nice, thank you for stopping by." And out the door they went with their mouths hung open because they couldn't believe it either. And I just looked at them and I just told them, "You know what? I don't think I've ever been more proud of you than I am proud of you today." And, time for the next meeting. We kept it moving. But that is one of the experiences that I had in his office where he just was so tired of people coming to him trying to get him to do these things that if they would just do the right thing, they could resolve their own issues. They just didn't want to do the right thing. And I believe that was God. I believe because it takes courage. It takes courage. I don't care, you can be the congressman, but some congress people are afraid of big business. Some congress people are um, they'll do anything that they need to do because they're chasing the contributions for their political coffers. And if it means they got to sell out some other people to get them, then they're good with that. They're okay. But then you got some Congress people that made from the same kind of cloth that Elijah Cummings was made of. And they're not so easy to get around. They're not so easy to get over. They're not so easy to get through. And they're not so easy to convince. Um, I think that's God. I think that those people that walk that hall in the halls of Congress who really hold on to God's hand every day are the people those are the only people that still keep the walls from crumbling. They're the people that keep the ceiling from falling down, crushing everybody else. They really are, because that place is a mess right now. Yeah.
I tell you, God is truly amazing. He is truly amazing how he does what he does.
Yeah.
As you were sharing, I was thinking, you've been, in the Marines, you've worked for the government, you're a writer, you're a speaker. What's next for Fran Allen? What did God have you do this season or a season to come?
Well, see, the last couple of years, it's been very personal because my children's dad was sick. And I just, at first, when God called me to be helpful, I was rebellious. Like, why I gotta go? I ain't married to him no more. That's the kid's dad. Let the kids go. That's their daddy. Ain't my daddy. And that was so ignorant. That was so mean spirited. But it was really selfish. There was selfishness, just screaming out loud. And then one day I said, man, how can I be so selfish? And God has been so wonderful to me. So it really doesn't matter who he's asking me to help or where he's sending me to go. I gotta go. I gotta help. I have to. I woke up to the realization that if you keep asking God for something and he keeps telling you he wants you to do something, how do you expect to get the thing that you're asking for if you keep telling him, no, you're not going to do what he's asking you to do? That's some wisdom for you. So the last couple of years or so, I've been running up and down 95 back and forth between North Carolina and Maryland, taking care of who arguably was one of the best friends that I've ever had. Clarence Allen, their dad, was my reason season lifetime guy. You might get a reason guy, you might get a season guy, and you might even get a lifetime guy, but you don't get a reason season lifetime guy wrapped all up into the same person. And that's who he was to me and for me. And I was there until the very, very, very end. And now he was a skater. He was an avid roller skater. That child, we go to the club and be partying. He was at the rink. He was at the skating rink doing his thing. And now I just see him skating around the pearly gates and all over those streets paved with gold, having a ball, healthy and happy and strong, and I have peace. But I have the peace because I did what God asked me to do. Even if I did rebel in the beginning, I asked for forgiveness and stepped into the obedience that I was supposed to just walk into in the first place. Um, yeah, and my heart is heavy. His birthday was last Friday, and my heart is heavy that he is gone, but I rejoice because I know where he's gone to. So I think God is just calling me into my season of service, but season of service for Him, not for a job or something like that. I'm just my walk. I'm on my spiritual journey. This is my journey, and my walk is calling me into a place of service. And that's what we're all supposed to be, servants.
Amen.
But you're supposed to see this from a different perspective. I'm not a servant so I can get a check. Because see, he took care of all of that. I have income streams. And honestly, I don't even know how in the heck I was smart enough to figure out what to do to get them, because I really wasn't. I just did what God told me to do when He told me to do it. And look at me. New house, better whip, traveling, having fun, surrounded by a church family, a whole church family. I came here, I knew one person. Now a whole church embraces me. And I'm so grateful. I never ever thought this would be my life in retirement. But yeah, it is.
God is so good. God is so good.
Amazing, amazing, just amazing.
Well, Fran, I'm glad that we were able to share, what God has used you for on your journey of life and what He continue to use you for. You have always been a blessing, not just to me, but so many others and more people yet to come. And just keep doing what you're doing and just know God is well pleased with you. And before we leave, I would just like for you to give us your contact information, how we can reach out to you, where we can find your books. What ways do you want to serve the world now that you're in this season of your life?
Well, I have a website and it is selfdevelopmentsuccess.com, selfdevelopmentsuccess.com. And on that website, you will find the tabs where you can get to my bookstore where my books are. And those 4 books have been put in ebook form so that you can purchase and download the books. So that's sort of the way that I've gone with that. If you want to contact me to speak or for a book signing or any of that, there's a contact tab on the website. I try to make it as easy as possible so they don't have to go to 10 different places to find me or see me. There are some clips that are on my website also that speak to self-help and just believing in yourself and to encourage you to do more, to be more because you deserve more. And all of that. And then people can email me, and that's selfdevelopment.success@gmail.com. That's selfdevelopment.success@gmail.com. And those 2 ways are the most direct ways to hit me. As far as what am I looking for, anything that will help me help you. That's it. It's real. This is simple. I'm not chasing money. I'm chasing people. I'm chasing people because the more you allow yourself to be drawn into service for others, the blessings will come back to you in numbers that you can't even count high enough to accommodate. So I'm not after the money. I'm after the people.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Fran. It has been a joy and a pleasure. I can't wait till I get to visit with you some more. We got a new year coming. We got to plan a getaway trip or just a trip up to Raleigh so I can have another weekend. But just know that, you're a joy to know, you're a blessing to enjoy as well. And you just keep doing what you're doing. Because like I said before, God is well pleased with you. So take care, darling. God
Well,
bless.
Cheryl, I thank God for you. And the coming year, yeah, it's your season, baby. Step into your season because it's coming.
Amen. I receive it. And you too. All right.
Thank
God
you.
bless. Bye-bye.
Love. Bye-bye.